Okay, I played with this a little bit more and got it to this stage, and I'll let you take a look at what the final color flow looked like on my color mixer. There's the gradient. I've got kind of an orange, a red, a brown, and then a red, and then the result was this, and then also I've got the gradient transform tool, which I pinched a little bit and then shrunk a little bit and moved around. Now I want to put a highlight. I'm going to show you how to do the highlight. I'm going to delete these guys over here, get my select tool, highlight them, and then press delete key on my keyboard. And then I'll double click on this and move this over here. Alright, deselect by clicking on the background. And now what I want to do is I want to put a spotlight or like a highlight effect, right? Shine. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to make a new layer. Okay, and I'm going to get a gradient. So what I'll do is I'll get the white to black gradient, all right, and then I'll open up my color mixer, and you'll see I have the white to black gradient right here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this chip, double click on that one, change that to white, right? And then, so I've got this chip selected, I'm going to change the alpha on it to pure 0. That'll make it purely transparent. And when you do that, you see it now goes from white 100% transparency to white 0% opacity, I mean. And so since it's 0% opacity, it's see-through. So we see the checkerboard or the grid underneath it indicating that it's see-through. Now on this new layer that I have, I clicked right here to get that new layer. I'm going to get my paint bucket, or I'll get my, instead of a paint bucket, I will get hold down the rectangle tool and get the oval tool. And I'm going to turn the stroke to no stroke, no outline. And then I will just create a circle. So I'll just click and drag a circle, and you'll see that circle is a gradient from white to see-through to pure transparency, right? And it's on a separate layer, so it does not ruin the apple. If I had this on the same layer, I'll just put this over here for now. If I drew it on the same layer and deselect, and I drew that same circle on the same layer as the apple, then when I go to click on it and move it, you see that it cut a hole right through the apple. So I did this on Control Z to undo on a separate layer so that it can float above and allow the transparency to work. And then I'm going to change it one more time. I'm going to select it, go to my color mixer, and instead of having this pure white, I'm going to click on the white, and I'm going to change the alpha down to 50. Okay, so 50. So now it's 50% transparent. So when I deselect by the select tool on the background, clicking, you'll see that I've got a highlight here, and I can select it, go to the color mixer, click on the chip, and I can click on that chip, make it white again, and up the alpha to 56, and then deselect and see how it looks, right? But essentially the effect is that it's a shine. And last but not least, this blue outline's got to go. So I'm going to double click on the blue outline and delete it, and then I will go over to my stroke tool, and I'll pick maybe a brownish red, right, color for the line. Then I'll get my ink bottle, and on layer 1 I will click here and put a line around the apple. And the line right there is too big, so I'll undo that, Control Z, and I'll change the size of this line to 1 pixel, or I could do a percentage of a pixel. Let's just do 1 pixel, and then try that. And you'll see that that line is nicer. And if I wanted to, I could pick a slightly deeper color by double clicking here. Click on the color wheel, take that darker. Lots of ways to work with color here. Click OK, and then click, and that'll make the line a little bit darker. Alright, so that's pretty good. Now last but not least, we need to add a shadow underneath the apple. So for that, what I'll do is I'll select the apple and I'll copy it and paste it, right? And actually, I'm going to paste it on a separate layer. So I'll do undo here, Control Z, Control Z, I'll copy it again, make a new layer, and then paste it. And I'm going to change the color to just, let's say, black to start with. Right? So there it is. And I will select it, get my transform tool, and I'm going to squash it, pull it like this, pull it like that, and now I have a shadow. I'll just take that, put it here, right? There's my shadow. I can make it sit down some more, press it down some more. And the other thing that I could do to it is I could take this shadow, this layer anyway, and I need to drag this layer below layer 1. So I'll just drag that layer down, and so now the shadow is behind. And if I needed to, I could modify the shadow and the shape, whatnot. So let's see here. If I needed to modify this, deselect, pull this forward, pull this forward. You know, if I needed any types of modifications on my shadow, I could just pull it to do that. All right. And last but not least, I can make this shadow see-through. So if I open up my color mixer, from a solid black, I could change the gradient to a linear gradient with one side being black at, let's say, 80% opacity, right? And the other side could also be black at, let's say, 20% opacity. So now what you have is you have a see-through shadow, and I'll change the opacity here on this chip more to like 50%. And one more time, in this one, I'll make it 100% right there. So it's black, and then I can drag this over so the black is much stronger, right? And then deselect by clicking on the background, and there's my shadow. Once again, I can get the transform tool, play with the shape until I'm happy with it. And what's nice about this is if I was to change the background and the shadow see-through, change the background color to a green, you'll see that the see-through shadow blends in with the black background.